G'day and welcome to our latest series of America's Cup videos where we're going to look at the greatest controversies that surrounded each of the cups. Digging into the history books to play a little game of what if and who would have won the cup if things played out differently to the way that they were recorded in the history books. The first America's Cup couldn't have been more different than today's racing, which is conducted on our flying mono-hull foilers. While the racing is unrecognisable, the one constant that has been there in every regatta is the controversy which often surrounds the cup, both on and off the water. At number 5, we take a look at the fact that the first challenger had to take on the whole British fleet. While this occurrence is not unique to the first America's Cup, it's unthinkable in modern day racing that a single boat would have to compete against a group of yachts from the defending country. Overcoming the whole British fleet was an amazing achievement by the Yacht America, which set up the longest winning streak in international support. I'm sure in hindsight, any number of the British fleet would have easily sacrificed their race to sail America off the course and retain that cup and change the course of history. At number 4, Arrow runs aground. While hundreds, if not thousands of boats run aground while sailing or cruising each year, we couldn't find another example of it in the history of the America's Cup. Arrow, who led at the NAB Lighthouse, was close tacking up the southern shore of the Isle of Wight to stay out of the tide, which was now pushing them backwards. She got in a little bit too close and ran aground, and with the water level dropping, had to wait for the tide to turn and come back up before she could be released. This also had consequences for other boats. Alarm stood by to make sure that everyone was safe and to help out if anyone needed to abandon ship, effectively taking out 2 key competitors, allowing America to race off to victory. At number 3, we take a look at Freak and Palante colliding. While there's been lots of collisions throughout the history of the Cup, we couldn't find another one where the collision in the deciding race had a major bearing on it. Freak and Palante were close tacking up the southern shore of the Isle of Wight to stay out of the onrushing tide when they collided, damaging each other, both having to retire. They were making up ground on America at the time, and one account even had the 2 yachts slightly ahead of the US entry before the collision took them both out of the race. Number 2, we take a look how America took the lead by cutting the corner at the NAB Lighthouse. America leapfrogged several of the British fleet by leaving the NAB Lighthouse to port, while the leading British boats stood out further into the tide to round the NAB Lighthouse to starboard. America jumped into the lead and didn't look back. The day after the race finished, the owner of Brilliant, who finished 5th in yesterday's race, protested America, claiming that she did not round the NAB Lighthouse to starboard as her sailing instructions had called out. The protest, however, was quickly dismissed by the Earl of Winton, who was also the Commodore of the Yacht Squadron at the time. He called out that an observer and a pilot from the squadron who was sailing on America had been incorrectly given a different set of sailing instructions which did not call out which way you needed to leave the NAB Lighthouse, therefore allowing America to sail the course as per the instructions she had on the boat with her at the time. America did not look back at this point, racing on to claim victory. But it is fairly obvious that the result could have been very different if she didn't gain the lead and Arrow was first around the NAB, with several other boats behind her that could have conceivably held up America, allowing the British entry to take the victory. The biggest, but maybe most little known controversy around the first America's Cup surrounds the story that the prize was given to the boat that finished second. Go figure with that one. Wildfire, a 62-foot cutter, entered the race and completed the circuit around the Isle of Wight, and to many accounts finished first, but her time was not recorded because she was considered ineligible due to the movable ballast which the crew lugged in the form of sandbags from side to side each time she tacked to help with her riding moment. At the St. Catherine's Lighthouse, which is the most southerly point on the race around the Isle of Wight, Wildfire, according to the Times, was somewhere between 2 and 3 miles ahead of the fleet. Aurora passed the same point 10 minutes after Wildfire, with America a further 4 minutes back from there. At the finish line, Aurora was 8 minutes behind America. So it's completely conceivable, with a 10-minute lead at the most southerly point, that Wildfire could have actually gone on and stayed in front of America as she completed the loop around the Isle of Wight. So that completes our look back at the controversy behind the 1851 America's Cup, where Wildfire won the race, but America won the cup. If you liked the video and made it this far, why not check out the full story behind the 1851 Cup, where the yacht America sailed across the Atlantic to defeat the British fleet.